What wouldn't a mother do for her children? And just how far would she go to keep them safe? These are the questions we'll be contemplating in today's case. But this time, the answer takes a dark and disturbing turn you definitely won't see coming. Today we're talking about the first known Italian female serial killer, a haunting curse, and a story about making soap that just might turn your stomach. Welcome to Old Casebook, where we reopen the pages of history's darkest and most forgotten crimes. Today's story takes us to 1930s Italy, a quiet town hiding a nightmare. Behind the doors of her small soap and tea shop, Leonarda Cianciulli committed acts so disturbing that even seasoned investigators were left speechless. She wasn't just a killer. She believed she was saving her son's life through murder. This is the chilling, true case of the woman who fed her victims to her customers. Leonarda Cianciulli was born on April 18, 1894, in Mantella, Avellino, then part of the Kingdom of Italy. Her upbringing was anything but ordinary, and her very conception was tragic. It's said that her mother, Amelia Dinolfi, had been assaulted and soon after discovered she was pregnant with Leonarda. To avoid social ruin, Amelia was forced to marry her attacker. From the very start, Amelia resented her daughter, treating her with cruelty and bitterness. Their relationship was turbulent and the emotional toll on young Leonarda was devastating. She reportedly attempted to take her own life twice. The family lived in poverty, even after Amelia remarried. Hoping to fix their financial troubles, Amelia arranged for Leonarda to marry a wealthy man who could support the entire family. But Leonarda defied her mother's wishes and instead married Raphael Pansardi, an older man who worked as a registry office clerk. Furious at her disobedience, Amelia allegedly cursed her daughter, a curse Leonarda would come to believe haunted her for the rest of her life. Superstitious and fearful, Leonarda later sought comfort in fortune tellers. One predicted that although she would marry and have children, every single one of them would die young. Hoping for a more hopeful prophecy, she visited a Romani palm reader, but her second reading was even darker. The woman looked at her hands and said, "In your right hand, I see prison. In your left, a criminal asylum." Leonarda likely believed that the predictions of her dark future were the result of her mother's curse. 4 years after marrying in 1921, she and her husband Raphael moved from her hometown to the small town of Lauria, where Raphael had grown up. For a while, life went well for the couple, as they both found steady work. But in 1927, Leonarda was arrested and imprisoned for fraud, though the exact details of her crime remain unclear. After her release, the couple relocated to Lacedonia, hoping for a fresh start. But misfortune followed them once again. In 1930, the devastating Irpinia earthquake struck and destroyed their home, though they miraculously survived. Eventually, they settled in Correggio, where their luck finally seemed to change. Leonarda opened a small shop selling soaps, teas, and various goods. Her charm and personality drew customers in, and soon she began claiming she had special powers to make people's dreams come true. Before long, she was reading fortunes and had become one of the most respected and popular women in town. People, especially women, flocked to her for guidance, desperate for help in fulfilling their deepest desires. Despite her apparent success, Leonarda's personal life was filled with unimaginable sorrow. Out of 17 pregnancies, she suffered 3 miscarriages and lost 10 children to illness during early childhood. Only 4 of her children survived past adolescence. Was this the curse of her mother, or the fortune teller's grim prediction coming true? Perhaps it was both. The repeated heartbreak left Leonarda fiercely protective of her surviving children, particularly her son Giuseppe, to whom she was deeply devoted. In 1939, when Giuseppe announced that he was joining the Italian army as World War II loomed, Leonarda was devastated. She couldn't bear the thought of losing him. Determined to do whatever it took to keep him safe, she convinced herself that she knew exactly how to protect him from harm. So when a lonely 73-year-old woman named Faustina Setti came to her for help in finding a husband, Leonarda saw an opportunity, a way to break her mother's curse and guarantee Giuseppe's safety. She told Faustina that she had found a suitable match for her in Pola, a town that is now part of modern-day Croatia. For her services helping Faustina, Leonarda was reportedly paid 30,000 lira, all of Faustina's life savings. Excited to have finally found someone suitable to marry, Faustina began writing letters to the man who would become her husband and even received some in return. But instead of celebrating the good news, Leonarda convinced her to keep it a secret and not tell anyone. Little did Faustina know, it was Leonarda herself who was writing those letters back, posing as her would-be husband. Soon, Leonarda persuaded Faustina to write letters to her family, telling them that she had gone to Pola and that everything was fine. When Faustina was ready to leave, her gray hair dyed dark and her heart full of excitement, she met Leonarda at her shop, where the two women celebrated her new life with a drink. Faustina was never heard from again. Her worried family members were later reassured when they received letters in her handwriting, explaining that she had left to get married. Yet they couldn't understand why she hadn't told them in person or even said goodbye. Leonarda's shop continued to attract other women who, like Faustina, were desperate to change their lives. One of them was Francesca Soavi, a 55-year-old school teacher who sought Leonarda's help to find a new job. Lonely in her small town, Francesca was thrilled when Leonarda found her a promising position at a girls' school in Piacenza, in northern Italy, for a fee of 3,000 lira. Just like Faustina, Francesca was instructed to write postcards to her family and friends before leaving, assuring them she was fine, but not to tell anyone about the job until she arrived. On September 5, 1940, Francesca was due to begin her new job. But before she left, she decided to visit Leonarda one last time. An awful smell often emanated from Leonarda's little shop, a respected and well-liked place in the community. Though neighbors occasionally complained about the strange odor, no one thought much of it at the time. After all, Leonarda was beloved by everyone, and no one could have imagined the horrors taking place in her kitchen. Undeterred by the occasional terrible smell seeping through the floorboards, Virginia Cacioppo decided to visit the shop, hoping to find a new job just as Francesca had. Virginia was a former soprano singer who had once performed at the famed opera house La Scala. But her fortune had faded, and she had fallen into near poverty, desperate for any opportunity to change her life. Leonarda promised her exactly that, a position as a secretary for an impresario, the owner of an opera theater in Florence. However, this opportunity came at a price. Leonarda demanded 50,000 lira, all the money Virginia had left, and even took some of her jewelry. Still, Virginia agreed, willing to pay anything for a chance to rebuild her life. Just like Faustina and Francesca before her, Virginia was sworn to secrecy about her plans. Yet, unlike the others, she couldn't help but mention to a few people that Leonarda had helped her find a wonderful new job. On September 30th, 1940, Virginia visited Leonarda one final time to thank her and say goodbye. By this point, locals had begun to notice a disturbing pattern. Several older, unmarried women had disappeared after visiting Leonarda's shop. Although their families received letters from them soon after their supposed departures, none of the women could be contacted again. Virginia's sister, suspicious of her sister's sudden good fortune, grew increasingly uneasy. Having last seen Virginia enter Leonarda Cianciulli's home, she went straight to the superintendent of police to report her fears and declare Virginia missing. The police began investigating and quickly found Leonarda's so-called miraculous ability to find jobs and husbands deeply suspicious. Soon, they uncovered evidence that suggested all three missing women, Faustina, Francesca, and Virginia, had been murdered. Leonarda had even sold off their clothing and shoes. Leonarda Cianciulli was arrested. However, the superintendent doubted that she, an older woman, could have carried out such gruesome crimes on her own. He suspected her beloved son Giuseppe might have been involved. But as soon as Leonarda realized that her son's freedom was at risk, she confessed everything. Leonarda Cianciulli had killed Faustina, Francesca, and Virginia in the most horrible way imaginable. To save her son from any blame, she gave a detailed account of her crimes, When Leonarda realized that her beloved son Giuseppe could die in the upcoming war, she became convinced that the curse haunting her life had returned to claim her remaining child. Desperate to protect him and counteract the curse, Leonarda believed there was only one thing she could do: human sacrifice. She was certain that asking higher powers to preserve her son's life would require a great offering in exchange. That is why Leonarda sacrificed 3 women, hoping that their deaths would ensure Giuseppe's survival. Her first victim, Faustina, came to visit Leonarda one last time. Leonarda offered her a glass of drugged wine, and when Faustina fell unconscious, she struck her with an axe and dragged the body into a closet. She collected Faustina's blood in a basin and began cutting the body into 9 pieces. At her trial, witnesses described how Leonarda calmly corrected the prosecutor on certain details, gripping the stand with oddly delicate hands. Her deep-set eyes gleamed with pride as she gave her chilling statement, describing Faustina's fate in graphic detail. "I threw the pieces into a pot," she said, "added 7 kilos of caustic soda, which I had bought to make soap, and stirred the mixture until the pieces dissolved into a thick, dark mush. I poured it into several buckets and emptied them into a nearby septic tank. As for the blood, I waited until it had coagulated, dried it in the oven, ground it, and mixed it with flour, sugar, chocolate, milk, eggs, and a bit of margarine. I kneaded everything together and made lots of crunchy tea cakes. I served them to the ladies who came to visit, and Giuseppe and I ate them too." Francesca Soavi, a schoolteacher, met the same terrible fate. On the night she went to see Leonarda, she was killed and dismembered with an axe. Her body, too, was turned into cakes and sold in Leonarda's shop. Virginia, the third victim, suffered the same dark and stomach-turning end. She visited Leonarda before her planned departure, was drugged with wine, and then killed with an axe. Parts of her body were melted down to make soap. Leonarda later gave a grotesque account of this act, saying, "She ended up in the pot like the other 2. Her flesh was fat and white. When it had melted, I added a bottle of cologne, and after a long time on the boil, I made some most acceptable creamy soap. I gave bars to neighbors and acquaintances. The cakes too were better. That woman was really sweet." While imprisoned, Leonarda wrote her memoirs titled An Embittered Soul's Confessions, where she even included advice on how to turn parts of the human body into soap. Her trial drew massive crowds, with people waiting for hours outside the courtroom just to get a seat. Despite her detailed confessions, some still doubted she could have carried out the killings alone. To prove her guilt beyond question, Leonarda was reportedly taken to a morgue where she dissected a corpse and cut it into 9 pieces in under 12 minutes, horrifying everyone present and confirming her claims. Without a shadow of a doubt, Leonarda Cianciulli was found guilty and sentenced to 30 years in prison and 3 years in an asylum, fulfilling the eerie prediction made by the Romani woman in her youth. She would become forever known as the Soap-Maker of Correggio. The pot she used to boil her victims was later donated to the Criminological Museum in Rome, where it can still be seen today. In 1970, Leonarda died of cerebral apoplexy while in a women's criminal asylum. She had committed 3 atrocious murders in her twisted attempt to protect her son during World War II and to break a curse she believed was destined to kill all her children. As for Giuseppe, little is known about what became of him, only that he seemed to survive a war that claimed countless lives. Was his survival truly the result of his mother's horrific sacrifices? We'll let you decide. Leonarda Cianciulli's crimes shocked Italy and the world. A mother, a murderer, and a woman driven by superstition and fear. Even today, her story stands as one of the most disturbing chapters in criminal history. Thank you for watching this episode of Old Casebook. Don't forget to subscribe, press the bell icon, and stay with us as we uncover more forgotten crimes from the past.